never knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie. White in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Good morning. Welcome to the show. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. I have with me J. Kristen Adams, former Justice Department attorney and author of the book Injustice, Exposing the Radical Agenda of the Obama Justice Department. And Mr. Adams worked for the Department of Justice for about 5 years until 2010. And he courageously brought the new Black Panther voter intimidation incident to the attention of the department. And I have the utmost respect for Kristen. Hey, Kristen, good morning. Welcome back, sir.
It's great to be here, Jesse Lee.
Who do you predict going to win tomorrow?
Well, I actually had to make a prediction at PJ Media as one of the columnists there. And so I had to go out on a limb, and I picked Romney because of the Catholic vote between Harrisburg, PA, and Minnesota. I just simply do not believe that America will tolerate an attack on religious liberty like this administration has unleashed. It just does not seem possible.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Barack Obama is as high as he is in the polls at this time.
Well, you're exactly right. Let me give you the dark side of this election. If he wins tomorrow with unemployment around 8%, with gas prices at $4 a gallon, with so many unemployed people, when is liberty and justice ever going to win an election in America?
No, if Obama should be reelected tomorrow, God forbid, it's just over for America as we know it. We can hang it up. Well,
you're right. I mean, a divisive president, attacks on freedom, on liberty, on founding principles. If this kind of president doesn't lose, my gracious, what is possible in this country?
Yeah. You know, I noticed down in Ohio, there is early voting. And over the weekend, hundreds or maybe thousands of people went out and cast their ballot. What is that all about? Is this something the Democrats are pushing, or is it coming from both sides?
Well, that's a great question. Early voting is it's become popular in the last 10 years in a lot of places. And the idea is that it's originally coming from Democrats, where they want to have early voting because it gives them a chance to motivate the unmotivated over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
In the old days, they only had election day, and it's difficult for X number of activists to organize Y number of unmotivated people. So what you do is you spread out the election over 2 weeks, and it makes it easier.
Amazing. You know, I want to talk to you about something called spigot cities and the election. What is spigot? I had not heard of that.
Well, that's something that was in the Glenn Beck documentary, The Machine, about voter fraud that was on last night,
right?
And written about at the Blaze. What that is the idea that without these cities where political machines run the polling places, essentially, where large numbers of relatively sometimes unmotivated voters are herded into the polls by forced assistance. These cities, such as Philadelphia, Detroit, Milwaukee, places like that, become the necessary element for Democrats to win states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin. That without these spigot cities, those states would go Republicans. But unfortunately, what goes on in those cities is people are still losing their right to vote because they're voted by other people instead of themselves.
That's amazing. How is it that the Democrats are allowed to come up with these type of things and get away with it without a fight from the Republicans?
Well, main reason is because nobody has ever gone to the spigot cities to do poll watching. I mean, sometimes it would happen, but not very often. But look what happens in Houston this past weekend. On the Drudge Report, you might have seen,
Yes.
It says NAACP takes control of a poll in Houston. And what they were doing there is they were bringing in water and food, going into a place that was illegal for them to be. They're not allowed into the poll in Texas law. And they were handing out water, and more importantly, they were picking people out of line. The NAACP, wearing their shirts that said NAACP, were plucking people out of the back of the line and moving them to the front of the line. When I was in school, we called that cutting.
Yeah.
And so they took over the polls. There was lawlessness, but that was caught because there were poll watchers there from True the Vote who documented the behavior, and within hours it was up on the Drudge Report. So that's what's going to change it this year. Poll watchers are going to be all over the country recording this stuff.
Do you know if it's true that the poll watchers in that area were told to back down when they tried to deal with that situation?
Well, Jesse, that is exactly what happened, and that's the tragic part of this, and frankly the scary part, is the poll watchers complained to the election officials in the polls and said, hey, they're breaking the law, and nothing was done about it. Nothing was done about it. And then the poll watchers called the county election officials and said, hey, you got a problem here. And then Vince Ryan, who is the Houston County attorney there, Harris County, didn't do anything about it either. So that's the problem, is you have breakdown of law and order in the polling places in these cities.
So is this because of this fear of being called racist or sued for racism or something, and that's what's happening here?
Well, of course, that's in play, of course, that people are just afraid to confront lawlessness because they'll be confronted with charges of racism.
Amazing.
But you know what? Some things are worth it. And
that's right.
When the poll breaks down and the election gets stolen, who cares if you're called a racist?
That's right. You know, my concern is between now and 8 p.m. California time, at least, there's going to be a lot of tensions and even a lot of fights at the polls this time around because there's been a lot of tension built up between the races. I'm concerned that there may be real trouble.
Well, I hope not. I mean, this country has made such enormous progress on these issues that to have political machines and political operatives divide us is frankly a sin.
Yeah. I read that lawyers on both sides are gearing up to challenge the results. So this thing could go on for a while. Let me take a quick break, Kristen, and I'll let you respond to that when I come back. 888-775-3773, 888-77-JESSE. Preachers in the Pulpit coming up in the next hour, folks. You don't want to miss that. I'll take some calls when I come back.
Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I've been alone. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried.
Okay, folks, welcome back. J. Christian Adams is with me. He is a former Justice Department attorney and author of the book, Injustice is a must-read, exposing the radical agenda of the Obama Justice Department. Kristen, you have a website you'd like to give out before we run out of time here?
ElectionLawCenter.com.
I want to go back. There are a lot of lawyers on both sides gearing up to challenge the results of this election. What do you say about that?
Well, that's what we get after 2000 Bush v. Gore is because people recognize that the election system is deeply flawed, there will be lawyers who are going to step in and in close elections fight in court over outcomes. And that's simply because, like so many other things in America, there are so many laws now that govern elections. It's time you have to call in the lawyers, and that's unfortunately what's going to happen.
So this thing can go on for days. There's a possibility we won't know the result tomorrow for sure, but even Wednesday, right?
Well, if it's close, if two things happen, if it's close and various laws are implicated that might make the difference change, then you're going to see trouble.
Amazing. I want to ask this of you. What has life been for you since exposing the Justice Department and the new Black Panther Party?
It's been a blast. I've been representing, I've had the time of my life. I'm so blessed. I've been representing clients all over the country. I've been preparing arguments for Supreme Court cases, helping to do justice in places as far as away as Guam, where people are denied the right to vote. I'm just having a great time.
Good for you. You know what I like about that? A lot of people are afraid, especially white Americans, they're afraid to stand up and speak up for fear of being called racist. But when you do the right thing, it seems as though life is better for you because you've stood up for what is right.
Well, you know, I wrote about in my book Injustice about, I think it's in Luke, where the disciples are told to go from town to town, and if they aren't welcome, just dust themselves off and move along to the next town.
Yes.
And, all you got to do is speak the truth, and the rest will follow.
And my final question here, back in 2008, John McCain had a policy of not to call the Justice Department voting session. What was that all about?
Well, in 2008, I've written about how the Obama campaign was on the phone, on email, sending letters all the time, almost daily before the election, demanding that the Bush Justice Department do something, investigate something, look into something, which would help their campaign.
Yeah.
On the other side, John McCain's campaign had a policy to never talk to the Justice Department because it might be perceived as inappropriate. I mean, what a joke.
I know.
Here was the Obama campaign using law enforcement to help them, and nobody said anything negative about it. People didn't even know about it. It was just a joke.
That is amazing. So is Romney more of a fighter in this campaign than John McCain was in his?
Well, but you may be damning him with faint praise. I mean, yes, he's more of a fighter, but John McCain barely put up a fight. So I'm not sure that that's saying too much.
Yeah, you're right about that. I remember speaking to John McCain. He was in L.A. and went down in Orange County, California. And I said to him, you're not going to win this election if you don't speak up, if you don't tell the truth about Obama, if you're afraid. And for some reason, he just refused to do it.
Yeah, he's look, the man was a great servant of the country. He was a great war hero, but his politics were stuck in the 1970s. It's just not how things are done anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I really appreciate you, Kristen. I appreciate your courage. I love what you're doing, and it's an honor to know you. I'm glad to know you.
Oh, I feel the same way about you. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. And tomorrow, I believe, without a doubt, we're going to be celebrating because we're going to have one more chance because God is good. He's going to give us another chance to take back our country.
Well, I hope you're right.
God bless you, man. Thank you for what you're doing.
Take care,
and we'll talk again soon.
I'm good. Bye-bye.
All right, now. We're going to take a quick break, bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we'll take some phone calls. 888-7753-773. Back in a moment.